What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today we are discussing a big watch and a small wrist. As you've seen by the title, we're going to be calling this one the Seiko Effect. And full disclosure, straight away you can see this is not a Seiko, and I'm not pretending it is, but the same magic applies here. Because this is a homage of a Seiko watch, they adopt the same things that Seiko do to make a big watch wearable on a slim wrist. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I know, apologies that it isn't a Seiko and it's called Seiko Magic, but I can't really afford a proper Seiko like this, so I'm just substituting it basically. But the same principle applies here. So how does the Seiko Effect work? Well, if you take a look at this watch, this has a 44mm diameter, and that goes even higher when you include these bolstered crown guards. It goes up to 47.5mm in diameter, so it is a large diameter watch. So you'd be thinking, well, if you just saw the specifications on paper and you had a slim wrist like myself, you'd just immediately dismiss this watch as being too big. But there are a couple of key things that Seiko does that actually means you can pull this off if you have a wrist size around the same as mine. And the first one that they adopt is, well, the case shape. If you look at it, it's not what you'd call traditional. So I'm just gonna show you an example. So if you take a look at what you'd deem a circular watch, which is what you'd call more traditional. So you can see it has your lugs there, and then it's more round. So that is kind of what a traditional watch looks like. What you'd call traditional. And the same again here. We have a Citizen. Again, quite a large diameter watch. This is a 42mm, and the Joro is a 44 diameter. So this is a little bit smaller, but you can see again, it's round. And Seiko have used their, wisdom to design a case like this. Now this has the same diameter as that. So both of these are a 44mm. But which would you say actually looks bigger? If you were just looking at them at a glance and didn't know the sizes, you would say that this looks like a bigger watch. Just because of the shape of it, it looks like a bigger watch. So I'll just have to put that to one side. And that is, well, one of Seiko's things that they do. They use a case shape like this, which is more oval than round. And because an oval is more sort of elongated, it creates the perception that it's smaller. Even though it's the same size as the other one in terms of actual diameter, it looks smaller. And that's just one of Seiko's little tricks that they do. It's just all in design and how design is perceived. The second thing that Seiko do is the Lug To Log. We all know that the Lug To Log and the diameter are the two most important measurements when it comes to a watch fitting. Now, if you didn't know the Lug To Log of this watch and just saw the diameter, you'd be put off immediately. You'd think, oh, 44mm, that is way too big for my wrist, I cannot accommodate it. But what a lot of people don't know is that the Lug To Log is equally, if not slightly more important. So this has a Lug To Log of 47mm, which is actually 1mm bigger than the watch it's homaging. The original is actually 46 point something millimeters. So this is a little bit bigger. So the Seiko's magic works even better with the proper Seiko. And if I were to show you the watch at the side, you can see now, it looks like a very, very small watch. But then if you twist it to the side, obviously it looks a little bit bigger. But if you just look at the watch side on, that looks like a very, very compact and small watch. And that is the benefit of having such a small Lug To Log. So from here to here, very, very small. And Seiko is even smaller. You can just see how the profile is designed, and the ergonomics and the styling all comes into effect to make this big diameter watch look smaller and even wear smaller. So that's another trick that they adopt. They also do this with the tuner model as well, and even I think one of their other watches do it, the name eludes me. They do that with that as well. That is a massive watch, but it has a pretty compact lug to lug. The tuner, for example, I think they're around 45 to 47 mil, but the lug to lugs are like 44, 45. So they technically do fit. Now, I can't pull a tuner off though, because they're a round watch, which makes them look bigger. If a tuner was more this shape, then, you know, that might be a different story. So another thing that Seiko adopts is a reduced lug width. Now, what I mean by that is the actual Willard is a 19mm. This is a 20. Now, you'd think for a watch at 44mm diameter like the Juro, they'd use a 22mm, but they don't. And that is, again, all in perception. Because a 19mm is smaller and more slender, it looks smaller and more slender on wrist. So that is why they adopt a smaller size. It's not just to be awkward. I think they should have put 20, by the way. Just putting that out there. But the 19mm creates an effect that makes it look smaller than it actually is. And again, it's perception. It's all how you perceive something. And it works. It makes this really large watch on paper wear unbelievably small. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate it. I'm going to pop it on wrist. Now, I'm not going to do any, you know, cuts or camera trickery or anything. I'm just going to pop it on wrist and I'm just going to show you. And I have a 6-inch wrist for reference. So a very, very slim wrist. I think the average size for a male of my age is around 7 inches. So I have a undersized wrist. But there you go. It fits. Comes to the top, comes to the bottom, no overhang whatsoever. Now, if I'd have seen this on paper and just seen that it was 44mm, I'd have probably gone, yeah, no, sorry, it's not going to work. But knowing what I know, I think that fits absolutely fine, and I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, it would suit a person with a slightly larger wrist better, not getting away from that. But I wouldn't say that this is a too big watch. I think I can just about pull this off. This is probably the upper limit of what I can actually get away with on wrist, and I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. Of course, yes, it would look better on a bigger wrist. I'm not even you know, going to say that. I'm not going to argue against that. But I think if you've got a 6-inch wrist like myself, you can pull one of these watches off, and I think it looks fine. Another thing that Seiko would do is, you know, the profile and obviously the slenderness as well. I think that does help its wearability. And again, you can see the bracelet. This one isn't really a good example because there's no taper, but again, you know, this is just a homage. But if you had a bracelet that sort of tapered down, it draws your eye down to a narrow point, again, creating that perception of smaller. So there you have it, guys, the Seiko Effect. Probably not the most scientific or best explanation, but it's the best I can do. And there it is in effect. It works. It's made a unwearable watch wearable. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.